grave concern. U.S. President Barack Obama increases the pressure on Syria.
When you start seeing chemical weapons used on a large scale, and again, we're still gathering information about this particular event, but it is very troublesome.
At least 20 people killed in twin blasts in Lebanon. And buying back the boats. People smuggling dominates day 19 on the campaign trail.
From SBS, this is World News Australia.
Good evening and welcome to the program. I'm Kathy Novak. First tonight, U.S. President Barack Obama says reports of a chemical weapons massacre outside Damascus are of grave concern. He's joined the international community, including Russia, in urging the Syrian government to grant UN inspectors access to the area. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says any use of chemical weapons would constitute a crime against humanity.
No let up in the fighting. The Syrian government continuing its assault on the suburbs of Damascus, where the alleged chemical attack took place. According to the opposition, this is the weapon that delivered the deadly gas, indiscriminately killing hundreds of men, women and children, scarring for life the survivors, some of whom are now orphans.
We were sleeping downstairs and we heard a bang. It was very close. My grandfather came downstairs and rushed into the bathroom. He started vomiting, then convulsing. He died. My mother then fell and banged her head on the floor.
With France threatening a military response if the claims are proven, pressure is building on the United States to toughen its stance.
We are right now gathering information about this particular event, but what we've seen indicates that this is clearly a big event of grave concern.
Australia too, considering its position.
I've seen all the footage, it's horrific, and it makes your stomach turn.
The Prime Minister, who spoke to the UN Secretary General this morning, wanting to know all the facts before deciding whether he'll commit troops to a possible international intervention. The UN today formally requesting that its team on the ground be granted access to the area.
Any use of chemical weapons anywhere by anybody under any circumstances would violate international law.
The US asking the Syrian regime what it has to hide.
We've called on the Syrian government to allow an investigation of the site because UN inspectors are on the ground right now. We don't expect cooperation given their past history.
The plight of the weapons inspectors felt keenly by their former colleagues.
When you have someone like the French foreign minister saying, well, if these guys say that chemical weapons have been used, then we are going to react forcefully. Well, that's a lot of responsibility.
Time of the essence. With every hour that passes, say experts, the task of reaching a definitive conclusion diminishes. Brian Thompson, World News Australia.
And tonight, the 1 millionth child has fled Syria. That's according to the United Nations. The agency says children make up more than half of all Syrian refugees. More than 1.9 million Syrians have left the country so far. And aid agencies say they expect hundreds of thousands more in the coming months. In the last hour, 2 explosions have been reported in the Lebanese city of Tripoli. The blasts happened near the Al-Taqwa Mosque as people were leaving after Friday prayers. There are reports at least 20 people have been killed and up to 200 injured. There's been no claim of responsibility yet, but it's being seen as an attack against Sunnis. Reports say the mosque is attended by Sheikh Salam Rafi, one of the most prominent Sunni leaders in Lebanon. To the federal election now, and the opposition has upped the ante on border protection, promising more police offshore and a scheme to buy Indonesian fishing boats before people smugglers can. The government says it's a crazy scheme and impossible to buy what could be 750,000 boats. And the coalition is still under pressure over its paid parental leave scheme.
Back in the top end, pulling no punches.
And slowing it back down again.
Tony Abbott's training with the 1st Brigade.
Well then, working well.
As the campaign rolls on. If elected, he's offering the families of service personnel free GP services.
Quite a number of errors
Kevin Rudd's ignoring the findings too. He's being asked about the cut on his right hand.
This you recover from. I worry about whether, in the case of Mr Abbott's cuts, you can recover from them.
Even a grazed knuckle is a political opportunity. Karen Middleton, World News Australia.
Egypt's former president Hosni Mubarak has been released from prison after more than 2 years. The 85-year-old dictator who ran the country for 3 decades still faces charges of corruption and complicity in the killing of demonstrators during protests that toppled him in 2011. He will now be held under house arrest. Meanwhile, Islamist supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi have called new protests against the Egyptian army. U.S. police continue to search for a motive in the murder of Australian Christopher Lane. The sister of one of the teenage suspects says the shooting was not racially motivated. Police say one of the teenagers admitted to targeting the 23-year-old baseball player last week because they were bored.
Just days before 15-year-old James Edwards was charged in connection with the shooting of 23-year-old Christopher Lane, Edwards reportedly posted this tweet: 90% of white people are nasty, hate them. Despite questions of whether race played a part in the shooting, Edwards' sister says she's never heard her brother use racist language.
The only way that I would feel that he would say anything racist about anybody is because that we have felt racism from some of the people here in the community of Stevens County.
Police say the oldest suspect, 17-year-old Michael Jones, told them what prompted the random shooting.
Basically said we were at the house, the young man run by the house. Someone said, "There's our target." They got in the car, they followed him, and they shot him. We were bored.
Reaction to Christopher Lane's murder hasn't just been confined to the two countries. A memorial fund set up to fly his body back to Australia and cover funeral costs has so far received more than $120,000 thanks to donations from around the world. Greg Navarro, World News Australia.
Australian dollar is stronger against the greenback, and it's mixed across the other major global currencies. And on the commodity markets, both gold and oil are higher.
Let's check the weather now. And in the major centres, it'll be fine in Alice Springs, Brisbane and Perth. Some cloud about in Hobart and wind in Darwin. Showers or rain in the other areas. Looking further afield, some showers in Wellington and Tahiti. Mostly fine elsewhere with a bit of cloud. In Southeast Asia, cloud cover in Denpasar and Singapore. Drizzle and showers elsewhere with thunder expected in Bangkok. Temperatures around the low 30s. Further north, fine for Beijing and cloudy for Manila. Rain or drizzle in the other centres. As we head west, showers or drizzle on the Indian subcontinent with thunder expected in Delhi. Otherwise, a fine day for the rest. To Europe, rain or showers in Stockholm, Paris, Moscow and London. Fine with the odd cloud about in the other centres. In Africa, a fine day for Algiers, Cairo, Casablanca and Johannesburg. Wet day elsewhere. In South America, fog in Rio, cloudy in Santiago and Buenos Aires. Rain or drizzle for the rest of the main centres. And for North America, thunder in Havana, rain in Washington and Mexico City. Mostly fine in the other centres. That's the world this Friday. Have a great weekend. Good night.